I'm Dominic Patton.
And I'm Anthony D'Alessandro. Welcome to Deadline's Insider on The Boys from Prime Video.
I want to talk a little bit about the music for this season, because it's a huge part of this season.
There was some belting out from Kimiko and Frenchie, girl crazy style classic Blondie from Soulja Boy, the power ballad Chimps Don't Cry from Crimson Countess.
Chimps don't cry, no chimps don't.
So let's talk about how important was that for this season?
I think music is always important. I think sometimes people really go to great lengths to try to impose their taste on an audience and show how many deep cuts they know. I actually think recognizable music is really important.
But the thing is, you guys did with the boy band song, you did the thing all those boy bands did, which is there was always that soft middle. Like that little bridge that always kept you going.
So Chris Leonards, who we again had all worked with. I went to school with him, so I've worked with him. He's scored everything I've ever done, and then he did Sausage Party with these guys. He's the composer for the show. He does all the orchestral, but he's also an amazing musician and songwriter. He, wrote the lyrics and the melody for these boy band songs. And he's just such a chameleon in terms of what he can do.
I went into research mode. Of course, I grew up with it, but I went in, I said, I really started going through all the greatest songs of all of those bands, and including, even bands before that. I have to give a huge shout out. My sister is was the biggest boy band fan of all time. If there was a New Kids on the Block poster, it was up in my sister's room. And so I just researched, and I started realizing that there are elements to those songs, the synthesized bass line that starts the song, that gets you a groove, that makes you want to dance, and then there's there's always that bridge, which is the soft halftime bridge. It takes a thing that we all know now 20 years later is super cringy. So they've got basically all of these grown adult executives fabricating and commissioning all of these teeny boppers to make super cringy songs where all of the sexual innuendo and all of the flirtatiousness and everything is all sort of buried in these weird euphemisms.
Oh, baby, got your license to drive. Got your license to drive me crazy. Oh, pretty baby, make me feel so alive. Got your license to drive. Now that you're 16.
And that's what The Boys does so well, is it creates things that at first make you go, oh my God, it's hilarious. And then you go, oh my God, it actually sounds like it could have been a huge #1 hit in that era for that style of music. And then the third thing you go is you're wait a second, this is actually commenting in a way that makes me think that hey, this wasn't really okay then, and it's certainly not okay in the world of The Boys. Eric's really great at creating these assignments for me that allows me to be funny, fun, musical, parody, but actually write a really great catchy tune, a really strong hook that hopefully people will remember over and over again, and be able to comment on serious social issues at the same time underneath all that.
Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ spinning, I said my. Flash is fast, Flash is cool. Francois Sabah, Flash ain't no dude.
Now let's jump to something almost completely different, as they say. The solid gold clip of Soulja Boy singing Blondie's Rapture. Kind of an instant classic. How did that all come together? What was it like to film? What was it like to record?
So I went into this recording studio there in Toronto, and at first I thought he wanted me to do the entire Rapture, and I was like, whoa. But then he just said, no, just the rap at the end. And I was like, what are you gonna do with this? He's like, I'm not sure yet, but I want to do something with it. So it was a bunch of these kind of interstitials that we ended up shooting towards the end of this season. They basically gave us a crew and said, you guys go have fun for a day. When they said solid gold, I was just like, well, this is going to be solid gold for sure.
I got rhythm.
How did you learn of the musical episode? And tell us how you prepared for it.
The musical episode was so special. I first heard from Kripke that he's always wanted to put in a musical number into his work, and he's never really gotten a chance to do so. He tried to do it in season 2, but then the storylines just kind of didn't end up working out then. And I felt very special because, you know, it's something that he's always wanted to do, especially because my character doesn't speak. It felt very like, I don't know. It was just so unexpected. I never would have thought that a mute character would be able to do a musical number.
When you first meet her, she's actually watching some K-pop. So that's always been like a part of who she is. She loves bouncy, fun, innocent, sweet musicals. And we wanted an opportunity to hear her interior monologue and hear how she thinks and talks. And so for Kimiko, that's like a big elaborate musical number, because that's really what would be in her head when she feels elation. Karen really sings it. We had a choreographer work for weeks with like all of those people. You know, it's like if we're gonna do it, we're really gonna do it.
I remember texting Karen Fukuhara so fast, like, did you read this? Is this really happening? Are we gonna go for a musical? And we both kind of screamed together.
When I first met Karen and Tomer, their eyes popped out of their head with excitement and fear. Neither of them had truly danced before, although I do feel they have this natural dance ability. They came a few times a week, often after stunt rehearsal. There was one day they were shooting a huge sequence covered in blood, and Frenchie had been tied up, and it was a massive thing, and they still came to dance rehearsal after.
We knew Eric wanted an MGM style musical. So we had Amy Wright, our choreographer, was on calls, and we were really trying to plan this whole thing. And the idea of like, well, how do we use bedpans and hospital equipments as percussion? And how do we, you know, what's the band going to do, and what are we going to hear on stage? And is there going to be a little soft shoe and a little tap, which of course there was. Once you see the show, you're like, this is really, you know, the idea was it should be singing in the rain almost in the hospital, but with this classic Gershwin song and these two people, you know, who you absolutely don't expect to sing, belting.
And the day of shooting it was probably one of the most joyful days ever in all of the boys' universe. You know, it was me and Karen and 30 other dancers behind us after working for, I think, like almost 2 months on that piece of dance. And everyone was colorful and everything was so beautiful and joyful. And we had our choreographer, Amy, behind the scenes, with, you know, counting down like 1, 2, 3, 4 for the moves. And it was just, we looked back and I remember us going like, where are we? What is this show?
So every time we spot a new episode, I usually kind of shake my head and walk out and going, I can't believe you did it. But you did it. You actually went further than we thought.
You know that chimps are physically incapable of crying. But that doesn't mean they're not crying on the inside.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon for more of Deadline's Insider on The Boys from Prime Video.